Well, good evening, everybody, and welcome to LFS Career Journeys. We are really excited to have you here tonight to learn a little bit more about where an LFS degree can take you and the different career journeys or pathways that you could follow as a student in the Faculty of Land and Food Systems. All of you who are joining us tonight have been admitted to the faculty into one of our three amazing direct entry degree programs. We're so excited to welcome you into LFS and the University of British Columbia. Congratulations on your offer of admission. We hope that tonight will give you a great opportunity to learn a little bit more about the value of an LFS degree, how you can leverage the experiences you're going to have as an undergraduate and turn those experiences into a career that you'll be really happy with and where you'll be able to thrive after graduation. Tonight, I am joining you along with our candidates from the traditional, ancestral, and unceded territory of the Musqueam, Squamish, and Tsleil-Waututh First Nations. Really privileged to be able to be on the land that has been stewarded to us by the Indigenous peoples. I know that some of you are joining us from other parts of the world, and I just realized a couple of our panelists are also joining us from other parts of the Lower Mainland and the world as well. So I really encourage you to do some research to understand the land that you are privileged to learn, live, play, and work on, and take a moment to appreciate the incredible legacy that has come before you. This is a really important and integrated piece of your journey in LFS to be able to better understand the Indigenous history of the people of Canada, in particular those First Nations communities on which that are landholders of the land of UBC, and really give you an opportunity to learn and unlearn and face your own connection with Indigenous peoples and process and proceed through your own kind of work through reconciliation, both inside and outside the classroom. So I really encourage you to take advantage of that as a student at UBC and in LFS. Tonight's agenda is going to be this agenda here. So we're going to provide some introductions and ensure you know who everyone is on the screen. We're going to try and get to know you a little bit better as well to ensure that we're able to deliver the content that you're looking for. We're going to provide you with some information on how UBC and LFS can provide you with career supports and how you can navigate that uncertainty that some of you may be feeling at this time. And then we have three incredible alumni joining us today, all who have graduated from LFS and are pursuing very different career paths, all very accomplished in their own right. And I'm really excited to have them all here today and for you to get a chance to hear from them. So to get things started with introductions, my name is Christine Klaray. I am the Director of Student Services for the Faculty of Land and Food Systems. So at university, you have different faculties: science, commerce, engineering, LFS, arts. And within each of those different faculties, you have a dedicated team of student services professionals who support you from this point in your journey all the way through to graduation. And I have the privilege of supporting the team that does that for all of you in LFS. So it's a team of academic advisors, career strategists, who you'll hear about in a little bit, and student engagement as well as well-being, and then a team of student staff as well who support all of the programming that we do for all of you from orientation all the way through to graduation. So really excited to have you here and very privileged to be in that position and supporting all of you in your undergrad journeys. And I love that for all three of the alumni, I've known them as undergrads, and now seeing them in their careers after graduation gives me a great deal of pride. I'm going to pass it over to Ashley to introduce herself next.
Hi everyone, my name is Ashley. I go by she, her pronouns. I'm a fourth year student in applied animal biology, and I'm also a co-op student, which I'll talk a little bit more about later. So I'm currently finishing up my 1-year co-op term at the LFS Student Services, and during my co-op term, I've been working as the student recruitment coordinator, where I connect with prospective students and newly admitted students like yourself to share more about the programs and opportunities that we offer at LFS. And I'll pass it back to Christine.
Thank you so much, Ashley. And then on the screen, we have three incredible alumni here with us today: Jules, Allison, and Jeff. They are all here to share their journeys with you tonight. And don't worry, you're not going to hear from them now, because you are absolutely going to hear from them a little bit later on in the presentation, where they'll get a chance to share with you what their LFS experience was like and the careers, the paths that they've followed since graduation and what they're up to now. So hang tight, you'll get those introductions in a little bit. All right, to get us started though, we would love to hear a little bit from you about who you are, what you're interested in, and kind of what you're thinking about in terms of career at this time. So we'd love for you to participate in our Slido poll. So either on your phone or on your computer, you can just go to slido.com and then use the hashtag LFS career, or you can just go directly to the QR code and use the code LFS career. And I'm going to activate a poll for you so that you can share with us a little bit more about what you're interested in and what drives your passion. And when we're going to also use the Slido for our Q&A. So, all right. So the first question should be up in the Slido poll now. What do you want to be when you grow up? And that could be maybe what you're feeling right now. Maybe it's the same as what you felt yesterday. Maybe it's completely different than what you felt 2 weeks ago or 5 years ago. But we're just curious what it is you want to be when you grow up. Veterinarian, dietitian, material engineer, amazing. Dietitian, nutrition coach. Well, I have to say that you guys are on the right track if being in these careers is of interest to you, since you can definitely become all of these things through your time in LFS. Land remediation specialist. That is a very specific job. I'm so curious to learn a little bit more about what that is. OBGYN or a dietitian, amazing. Being a researcher, working in public health. Really fantastic answers, everybody. A chef, fantastic. I look forward to eating your food, learning how to eat well, stewarding the land appropriately, and getting good medical care from all of you as you work through. Forensic scientist, that's amazing. Well, the exciting thing is that you're really passionate about something. Something is drawing you to the University of British Columbia, to the Faculty of Land and Food Systems, and specifically to the program to which you've been admitted. Really exciting to see the diversity of interests that we've got here, which is very reflective of the students in LFS. So it's nice to see that showing up there. Amazing. All right. So what we'd also like to do is capture now what questions you have about your career, what questions you have about the career moving ahead. These could formulate some of our Q&As for our panelists, and it'll give Allison, Jules, and Jeff a little bit of time to marinate on some of the key questions or ideas that you are coming into this presentation curious about. We will hold some space at the end of the presentation, as we talked about, for some Q&A, so you'll have a chance to ask your questions of the panelists and get a chance to learn a little bit more. But what are you curious about right now? What is top of mind for you as you're about to embark on this undergraduate journey? I can see you're typing, so you're typing probably some pretty long questions. If you don't have a question, maybe are there some like specific topics that you're curious about? You can throw those in here now too, and it'll give us a chance to get an idea of where you're at in your journey. We're going to give it like 1 more minute for those questions to populate, and if we don't get a chance to look at them now, we will come back to them during the Q&A as well. Okay, don't stop typing. You can continue working on those, but you're obviously putting a lot of thought into your questions, which is fantastic. We'll come back to those during the Q&A portion, I promise. So one of the things that is probably on your mind is, how do I get career support once I'm at university, right? Because university, you're thinking about your academic journey often, right? You're thinking about, what classes do I need to take? How do I build my timetable? What are the degree requirements that I have to complete? Maybe you're starting to think about, like, what clubs am I going to join, and where am I going to live in residence, and some of the more logisticy pieces of university life. But I would argue from the very beginning, you can start to access, make use of, and leverage the resources that are available to you to build your confidence around career, navigating a career, and deciding what career it is you want to pursue. Some of those aha epiphany moments are going to come to you in your classes. Some of those aha epiphany moments are going to come to you when you're engaged in a student club. Some of those are going to be unrelated to anything you do within your academic journey and take you down a path you maybe didn't anticipate. And so it's really important that you're open to learning from and taking advantage of the different experiences that are going to to be provided to you. Allison, Jules, and Jeff will share some of their journeys with you. But the great thing is LFS as a faculty is a small, tight-knit community faculty where we really do get to know our students, you get to know your professors, and you have an opportunity to be in a really protected, safe space. At the same time, you're part of the larger University of British Columbia community, and access to all of the resources that UBC has to offer is something that you can take advantage of as well. So whether that's participating in webinars or attending events or going to seek career support from the team of career educators at the Career Center, whether it's taking advantage of experiential learning opportunities in your classroom or getting an on-campus job like in co-op or in work-learn, which Jules will be able to share a little bit more about with you in her introduction. Really exciting opportunities for you to build career experiences into your undergraduate degree. At UBC, those experiences and resources are vast, and then within the Faculty of Land and Food Systems, we have dedicated career supports for you. The newsletter is the bi-weekly newsletter that comes by email to all students in the undergraduate programs, and so this is a great way to stay on top of events that are happening, webinars, workshops that are being run both within LFS and across campus. If there's a career fair that's happening, if there's an event that we're hosting to help you navigate or practice those experiences. The Academic Career and Engagement team, or the ACE team that we have within LFS, runs programming, or they run programming all year. Career is in their name. A lot of those events are dedicated to support you in better understanding how to explore and get ready for the next steps in your career. And we also have a complimentary social media channel for the newsletter so that we can post things and highlight events. So you can just follow us and catch us on social media as well. And then we do have a dedicated podcast that shares career journeys. Jules also knows a lot about career carrots and can speak to that as well. And then, of course, the most equitable way in which all of you can engage with career learning in LFS is actually in the classroom. And so you're going to be learning career-ready skills in the classroom, either directly with your professors or just transferably through the work that you're doing, whether it's working on a group project, learning how to collaborate with other people, understanding how to work through a problem with other people that share different opinions, ideas, and bring different experiences to the table than you have. All of these experiences that you have within your classroom experience really do help prepare you for the career that you're going to pursue and help get you ready for that next opportunity. And that's something we're really dedicated to in the faculty, to ensure that you have a chance to practice and develop those skills in the classroom so that you can speak to those skills when you're in interviews or preparing resumes for jobs that you might pursue. And one of the great resources that we have in LFS is a dedicated career strategist. Allison is not able to be with us this evening, but Allison is our dedicated career strategist who supports students in their journey in LFS. And she works very collaboratively with the career educators centrally in the UBC Career Center, but she sits in the student services team and physically is there to support all of the students in LFS and has a greater depth of knowledge in the context of LFS courses, degrees, career outcomes, and can meet with you and be that consistent face for you through your undergraduate degree. And she'll also be engaging with your classes, so you'll have a chance to see her in the classroom as well. Allison is very knowledgeable, she's very friendly and approachable, and I know that a lot of students who have made use of connecting with Allison have found that that has been an incredibly valuable part of their own career journey. And then she can also run dedicated workshops and webinars that are tailored to the LFS student experience. One of the programs that we're most proud of is our mentorship program. So LFS as a faculty, compared to some other faculties at UBC, is relatively small, but our mentorship program is not. It's the second largest mentorship program on campus, and we're heading into our 25th year next fall. So we're really proud of the legacy of the mentorship program that we have here in LFS. This is Dave Ito, one of our longstanding mentors, who has come back to the program year over year over year. We have a lot of really exciting young alumni who participate participate in this program as well and give back to the students in LFS. It's a really beautiful journey, especially now that I've been in this role for as long as I have, to see alumni coming back to provide mentorship to the younger students who I knew when they started their journey in LFS at the same time all of you are as brand new first year students. So it's been a really beautiful journey to see that continual reciprocal giving back and having alumni come back and share their experiences and connect with our students to help them to get ready for a career after and I guess during your undergrad experience as well. Really valuable connections are made there, and we do our best to connect you with alumni and non-alumni mentors who are in industries that you may be interested in, as well as help you to network with individuals who might be in industries you're not necessarily interested in or aware of, to help expand your understanding of the variety of options and opportunities that are available to you when you graduate. Co-op is a fantastic opportunity that we also have available for our students in LFS. It is a program that's available to all students in all programs. It is a UBC-wide program, and we're really fortunate to be a part of it. I'm going to hand it over to Ashley, who's going to share a little bit more about the co-op program, since she is currently, as she introduced herself, a co-op student with our team. So over to you, Ashley.
Yeah, so as promised, I'm going to talk a little bit more about the LFS co-op program. So it is a chance for you to take 16 months off of school, and during this time, you will be able to work either 4-month, 8-month, 12-month, or 16-month long work term with various different companies and organizations. There's a wide range of placements, including research in food labs, biomedical labs, and soil labs. So for those of you who I saw were interested in research, this is a great way for you to get your hands get some hands-on experience and get your foot in the door. There's also positions in clinical settings like hospitals, working in public education programs, or even business-related jobs like food marketing or resource data analytics. This is a chance for you to apply what you're learning in your classrooms to an industry job, and you also get to explore what careers are out there. It's a great way for you to get experience firsthand, what you like or don't like about different types of positions, and how those factors might be things that you consider when you look and apply to your future jobs after you graduate. By the end of the program, you'll have lots of experience that you can include on your resume and things that you can talk about during your job interviews. So you'll be a stronger candidate when you apply for jobs after you graduate. And it's a great networking opportunity because you'll be working closely with many industry professionals who can give you career advice, help you with making connections, or even give you a heads up if there's a job opening at their company. Many students who have built a good rapport with their co-op placements were offered positions at their companies or organizations after they graduated too. So it's a great way for you to just continue to build connections. And if you're interested in being a part of this program, you can apply during your second or third year. So you'll have lots of time to decide. You don't have to decide right now. You can still think about it. And once you're ready in your second and third year, you can apply. And I'll pass it back to Christine.
Well, thank you so much, Ashley. And we're so lucky that Ashley has been working on our team in a full-time co-op position, focusing on student recruitment for LFS and our programs. So there's really valuable work co-op opportunities that are available to students. These are just some of the titles of jobs that LFS students have had in co-op over the last year. This is not an exhaustive list, and it certainly isn't the consistent list. Is expanding every year, and I would argue that LFS students are ready for co-op positions and careers, for that matter, in so many different industries and job titles, some of which you probably don't even realize exist out there. And this is a really exciting opportunity for you to get involved. Co-op is a valuable experience, but I also want to highlight that it isn't for everybody, and not everybody is able to or wants to engage themselves in that full-time work and interrupt their studies to be working full-time. You'll hear from Jules a little bit later in the presentation. Jules worked with our team as well in what's called UBC's Work Learn program, and that's a great way to build some on-campus work experience as well, and to share a little bit about what that could look like and how to complement your degree with some of those particular skills. Whether you are in co-op, in work learn, volunteering, in a student club, or you're drawing from your undergraduate academic experiences, as we talked about before, you really want to focus on the employability, competencies, skills, and attitudes that are going to prepare you for a career, maybe not necessarily for a very specific job. I think it's really important to think about the skills that you're developing and how they will translate into work after graduation. And these are really, really important for you to think about. So how are you at collaboration? How are you working to solve problems? How have you demonstrated that you have resilience when times are challenging? How do you show other people, an employer, that you have strong communication skills, that you're able to translate the knowledge that you've learned and present it in an effective way? How are you able to show that you can think critically about problems and provide really thoughtful solutions and be open to feedback from other people? How, writing is a really important communication tool, whether you're writing an email, whether you're doing a presentation, you're writing a report, you're presenting your ideas to other people and trying to get those ideas across. It is a really important thing to think about transferable skills and utilizing and leveraging all of the experiences that you're having as an undergraduate student to prepare you for whatever that next step may be. And for some of you, you may have this all figured out, right? You had some very clear directives when we asked you what you wanted to be when you grew up. I want to be this, and I'm going to school to do that. Point A to point B is a journey that some students are able to achieve. You start at the beginning with a goal in mind and are able to achieve it at the end. Sometimes you get to point B by doing A plus and deviate from that pathway a little bit, but eventually get to where it is you envisioned for yourself at the beginning. But it's also okay for those of you out there who are a little uncertain about what path it is that you want to take and where this degree might take you. And one of the things I would strongly encourage you to think about is making sure that you're open to opportunities, new ideas that might present themselves, and to maybe changing your mind about what it is that you want to do. If you think about it in your life so far, you've had limited exposure to the different types of careers that are out there. When you get to UBC, when you're in LFS and you're networking with other students and professors, and you're getting involved in clubs and you're meeting alumni through the mentorship program, you're going to start to develop a much deeper understanding of the kinds of careers that are out there and what will really speak to you. So being open to that is great. And when you are uncertain or unsure and confused and overwhelmed, know that we are here to support you and ensure that you have what you need in order to make effective and sound decisions that'll set you up for success. And making decisions about your career is something you're going to have to think about for probably the rest of your life. Are you going to stay in the career that you started in? Is that a starting point onto something greater? Will you develop in the career that you began and grow in that career into a more stronger leadership position, for example? It's really important that you understand that decision making in your career is going to occur throughout your life and show up in really different ways. And it really is about trusting your own instincts as well as your trusted network around you, and making sure that you're open to the new ideas and opportunities that come your way. If you want to learn a little bit more about exploring career and involvement opportunities, I encourage you to screen grab what's on the screen right now, grab this QR code to learn a little bit more about your degree and some of the different resources that we have available for you here at UBC and in LFS. So that's just a brief overview, and definitely not an all the things that are available to you list of resources, supports, and opportunities. But the main people that I'm sure you're here to see and hear from tonight are our incredible panel of alumni. So I'm going to let them introduce themselves to you next so that you can hear a little bit about their journey and see if their stories match up with some of the things I've shared with you tonight. So Jeff, we're going to start with you.
Great. Hey folks, yeah, my name's Jeff. I did my degree in the food, nutrition, and health. And I'm currently a fourth year medical student now. So I graduated about 5 years ago. And then a year later, I started medical school at UBC as well in Vancouver. And so, yeah, I'm just at my last year of medical school, and I'm starting residency as a family doctor in a couple months now. So a little bit about my LFS experience. So that first photo you see there is a presentation I did in Halifax. And I think that's probably like one of the highlights of my LFS career. It was between my third and fourth year, I was able to work with a really influential professor in LFS, and she got me involved in this really cool research project that I got to spearhead, and eventually went to Halifax and a few other conferences to present it. And that was a big highlight of my undergrad. And then that second photo is just my graduation with my wife and daughter. I have 2 kids now, and then that last photo after I graduated, I've always just been into business. Actually, even throughout LFS, I did a lot of business and e-commerce and things like that. And so that was just one of those. I started buying and selling boats throughout medical school, but also in between. So it's not necessarily what I do now as a career, but it was something I did that I enjoyed quite a bit. So yeah, it's a little bit about me. You don't get a lot of people going through LFS thinking medical school, as you saw, a lot of dietetics and veterinary medicine and things like that. But there are a few, and I would speak very highly of LFS as a route to go through to get to medical school. But yeah, a lot to be said about that. But that's a little bit about me, and I'll pass it on to the next.
Hello, I'm Allie. I graduated from the Applied Animal Biology program back in 2018, and I'm now a lawyer, which if you had asked me what I was going to do when I graduated, I never would have guessed lawyer, but I'm grateful to be here, excited to talk. Here's a couple photo highlights. The first photo on the left, I was really involved in a lot of clubs at UBC, including the UBC Parks Canada Club, and we went out camping and kayaking and doing restoration projects pretty much every weekend, and so this is from one of our kayaking trips. The next photo down, I did a 4-month marine biology field program in Bamfield, which is a little town 4 hours down a logging road. And while I was there, I did a research project studying the microbiome of eelgrass. So like the bacteria that live on eelgrass, and eelgrass is found in the ocean. I spent a lot of time studying on the beach with friends, which is a huge perk of UBC. Big fan of that. After I graduated, I did environmental consulting and wildlife biology work, and I professionally found baby birds for a living, which you can see down on the bottom screen. Baby birds are very cute. And that experience kind of drew me to law school, and the last photo there is my graduation day from Berkeley Law. So I came down to California to study law, and now I'm a practicing lawyer down here.
Hello, everyone. My name is Jules. My pronouns are she, her. I graduated in 2024 with a Bachelor of Food, Nutrition, and Health, and I also minored in Sustainable Food Systems. Now I am in grad school doing my Master's of Education in Sustainability, Regeneration, and Resilience. It's a little bit of a mouthful. And I also work at a school as a HR coordinator. So a little bit about my LFS experience. I started the program wanting to be a dietitian, but obviously that shifted as I went through my undergrad. One of the really great opportunities that I had was working as a work-learn student, which I know has come up a little bit. And that's an opportunity to work part-time alongside your studies. I worked with LFS Student Services as a program assistant. It was such an incredible experience. If anybody is interested in that, I would highly recommend it, or just go to LFS Student Services in general. They are huge, huge support, and were a big support for me in terms of navigating and reconsidering what I wanted to do for my future career. What else we have? One of the lovely things about LFS as well is they have Wednesday night dinners, which happens every second week. And it's like a $5 meal that all LFS students are invited to go. And in the bottom right, that's a photo of me in my first year going there. In the middle, we have LFS First, which I was a lead for that. And that's for first year students. It's an organized event for students to just get to connect with their first years and learn a little bit more about the UBC campus and about LFS. After graduating, I had an interest in learning more about agriculture and sustainability in general. So I worked on an organic farm in Richmond. So that's what that top left photo is. And now I'm in my grad program, and that's a bottom photo on the left where we're learning about this. My program is geared towards mostly teachers who want to learn about implementing sustainability in their classrooms. And the hope with my grad program is to get into curriculum design and find ways to bring sustainability more into classrooms.
Well, thank you so much, Jeff, Allison, and Jules. It's so wonderful to hear from you and the journeys you've taken, as well as where you are today. It's very exciting and hopefully inspiring for everyone who's on the call here today. So what we're going to do is we're going to move over to Slido to provide everyone on the call here tonight with an opportunity to share their questions and to get involved. So we're going to open up the poll on Slido for you to enter into the Q&A. And so while you're thinking of the questions that you want to ask, I'm going to ask the panelists some questions to get the party started here. You can put your questions into the Q&A on Slido, and then if you see a question that you also have a curiosity about, you can upvote it so that it rises to the top, and we'll be navigating through those questions in a little bit, so you can post them into Slido as well. And if you missed the link, Ashley has popped it into the chat, so you can go back there and find it if you need it. All right, so to our panelists, I'm really curious, how did being a part of LFS shape the way you think, solve problems, or approach challenges in your current work? Allison, I saw you nod and go right in there, so I'm going to throw to you first.
It's a great question. I mean, what I love about LFS is the opportunities that the degree provides. I think it's telling that there's 3 alumni with 3 very different career paths, and I definitely have friends who are dietitians, and I have friends who are vets, and they're loving everything. But my experience in LFS was I came in wanting to do vet school, and then I wanted to be a researcher, and then I wanted to be a wildlife biologist. And LFS really provided the opportunity for me to explore, and kind of the grounding feature through all of that was that no matter what I was exploring, the skills I was learning were transferable. Primarily, like, LFS is so good at teaching critical thinking skills, which I think is so important in this day and age where there's so much information out there, which is so exciting. There's so much to do with it, so much to learn, but understanding what is noise and what is what information is valuable is really hard in this day and age. And I remember one class in my animal welfare class, we were given an assignment where we were asked to research this list of nonprofits related to animal welfare. And I remember getting this assignment being like, this is a weird assignment. Like, what does this have to do with animal welfare? And the purpose of the assignment was to show that although these nonprofits had like really cool websites and really great missions, when you dug a little deeper, a lot of them weren't doing what they said they were doing. In fact, one of them, the donations were funding the CEO's trips to Disneyland. And so it's skills like that. And of course, you're going to get the hard skills. You're going to learn about, chemistry and biology, but it's the soft skills that I think are really unique to LFS and really serve you no matter where you go.
Thank you so much for sharing, Allison. That's so great. Jeff or Jules, do you have anything you want to add to that? Jules, I'll let you go first.
One of the first things that comes to mind from like a big thing that I learned from my undergrad was systems thinking. And that's something that I think you apply to every class and every project is recognizing the connections between a lot of like the world's problems. And I think it comes up in a lot of different ways in the classroom. It helps me recognize that everything is connected. And I think that really applies to learning about sustainability and what I'm pursuing now. And even now I work in HR, and I think people wonder, what does that have to do with sustainability? But with this, learning how to think apply systems thinking has helped me recognize that I do play a part in sustainability at the school that I'm at, and it has helped me to think critically and to be imaginative in different ways that I can implement that into my role. So I think LFS has been huge for that.
I'll just add my 2 cents to that, but I would argue this is probably what I took away from LFS. The biggest skill was just critiquing evidence. I remember, kind of like Ali just mentioned too, there was a course, and we were told we were split in half, and it was omega-3s in pregnancy. Are they effective or not? And you were given a paper, and both sides of the classroom had to read this paper and then argue against the other side of the class why yes or no. And it was just fascinating to show you could by the end of this course, they were basically teaching you how you can look at a research paper and have the skills to critique whether or not this is good evidence or not. And I would say that's the biggest thing I took away from LFS. You can apply that to anything, even politics, right? Someone says something, well, how can you determine and look at the facts, and where would you go, and what journals would you go to, and what kind of study would be most appropriate, and things like that. I would say that was the biggest thing I took away from LFS, and it's helped me a lot in medical school, analyzing evidence and critiquing it. So yeah.
Well, that's a really nice segue into one of the questions, Jeff, that has come up through the Slido poll is finding relevant research experience for students who might have an interest in medicine. And obviously you had your own very exceptional research experience. I'm wondering if you could share a little bit about how you came across the research that you did with Crystal, and just how you can navigate that, or any advice you might have for students on adding research experiences to their undergrad.
Totally. I think this is one of the biggest advantages of a smaller program, is that I don't want to use the word like competition, but it is in a way that, you know, you have a class of 20. I think there was a class I was taking with Crystal Karakachuk, and there was about 25 of us enrolled in the class, and it was an international nutrition course. I was fascinated. I've had some international experience. And I just went up to her afterwards, and after a class, I told her I appreciated kind of the content. I was really interested, and if she ever had any opportunities to let me know. And so she took me back to the office right then, and she laid out kind of what her research was and asked if I, you know, what I wanted to get involved with. And then I think I met actually with Christine, or one of the people in the academic advising program, to figure out how can I turn this into a course. So my research ended up becoming a course that I got credit for, and it became this phenomenal experience. I got to present it, like I said, across Canada. I got some awards from BC Children's as a result of the research. And again, this was through LFS, but it was directly linked with BC Children's. And so when it came to getting to medical school, I felt like that gave me a really good foot in, just because of being associated with BC Children's, but it came from LFS. It was just remarkable. So the opportunities are certainly there.
And I think that, thank you so much for sharing. And I think the great, piece of advice I would take away from that to share back with all of you is just ask questions, right? Talk to your profs. Like Jeff had an interest, he talked to Crystal about it, and it turned into this incredible experience. And so I see both Allie and Jules nodding. I'm just curious, when you think about engaging with your professors in your classes and thinking about the conversations you've had or the opportunities you've been connected to and how they connect to your career, does something immediate come to mind that you want to share back with the group?
I mean, I wouldn't have known about my grad program had it not been a conversation with a professor. I was very fortunate to take this career placement class in my last year, and my professor was more of like a mentor in that capacity, that we would just have check-in meetings about how my placement was going. And I told him what I was interested in, and I said that I was interested in sustainability and land-based education, and he was like, oh, you should connect with one of my colleagues who's also a professor in the education department. And by happenstance, that professor is now my program advisor in my grad program. So had I not put myself out there, and had I not opened up that conversation, I wouldn't have even known that my program existed.
Yeah, I totally agree. My research also is just asking professors, finding professors that I was interested in, which is not hard to do at UBC. There's so many cool folks. But just in general, like the professors at LFS, especially talking to friends who graduated with other degrees, I didn't realize it was uncommon to just go hang out in your professor's office and talk and, have a coffee and just chat. Everyone is so kind and so warm and so welcoming, and so giving with their time and so knowledgeable that it's just such a resource. And I think if you choose to go to LFS, it will be a natural thing. I think most folks just get to know their professors, and it becomes like a beautiful friendship almost. But the earlier you can start that, the better, because they are just some of the best people you'll ever encounter.
I think that is such important advice to break down those barriers. I think particularly you may have felt the same in your first year, that professors were these intimidating entities, and just like in the movies, they're going to stand at the front of the lecture theater and behind a podium and be really off-putting. And you are going to have some of those larger classroom experiences, particularly in first year when you're getting your foundational science courses done. And some of these unique kind of small classroom experiences that all of our alumni have spoken to tonight are sometimes those later in your degree courses where you're more involved or engaged in your specialization and starting to curate some of those learning experiences a little bit later on in your degree. Not to say that you don't have those experiences in first year either, because those definitely happen through courses like LFS 100, LFS 150, which is your communications and writing course. If you're in the FNH program, you have a dedicated FNH 160, 161 course for your human anatomy and physiology course, for example. So you are going to have some of these smaller classroom experiences right from the very beginning. And I do think that talking to your professors is a great way, especially if you're inspired by or interested in what it is that they're teaching, what it is that they're researching, to again, just have those conversations that might expose you to careers that you might not otherwise know about. So I'm just wondering, one of the Slido questions came through about what is the best way. So we've talked about engaging with your professors and asking questions. What are some other ways that you have networked to support your career goal and journey? What did networking look like for you as an undergrad, and what would you encourage students to get involved in? Allie?
I mean, the fact that that's a question is like miles ahead of where I was. So doing great. For me, I found that first off, like being healthy and happy in undergrad, especially in your first year when you're in the bigger classrooms, the most important network is your friends and your community. So really lean into that. But I think that there's like this beautiful thing about being a student where people love to help you. They just love it. If a student reached out to me, and please do reach out if you have questions, if you're interested in climate tech or startups that are trying to solve climate change, like I'm happy to talk to you about that. I know a lot about it. And so I gained a lot of experience, and I got all of my summer jobs. I worked at the BC Hydro, I worked at the Canadian Wildlife Federation, and I worked at the United Nations Environment World Conservation Monitoring Center. I got all of those through a cold email. And just having the courage to ask, to reach out, people are so willing to help. And then from there, I think the key to networking and keeping relationships alive is for them to be authentic. It's not a transactional thing. It shouldn't, it's not, I hope you're not reaching out to me to like transact. It should be a relationship, a friendship. And I think if you lead into that authenticity, you'll go wherever you want to go.
That's really beautiful advice, Allie. Thank you so much for sharing. Jules and Jeff, were there any networking opportunities that you engaged in that we haven't covered yet that you think students need to be aware of, or skills that you picked up? Jeff?
Yeah, I can just briefly talk about, we already mentioned it, but the mentor program I think is very much, I don't think it's taken advantage of. Like, I think everyone should participate in this mentorship program. I did. And I actually got put with the individual who was showcased, David Ito, and he was a huge network for me, actually. As a student, I didn't know really much about medical school. I don't have any friends or family going through the program at the time. He did, I mean, he's not even a physician, but he was someone that had such a good network that I remember he would take us for lunch every couple months, and he would just connect us with people, and that's what he did. I remember him putting me in touch with a few people, and then I had lunch with them, and it kind of just spiraled from there. So that mentorship program was huge. I think it put you in touch with some pretty remarkable people, and that's where I would start.
One of the routes that I took in my second year was I was very passionate about dietetics and getting into the dietetics program, that I ended up reaching out to dietitians that I was interested in via social media. And that's actually how I got a 2-year internship with a dietitian. I was helping her with her communications, and I just had messaged her and I said that I had liked her page, and a lot of what she was talking about resonated with me, and that's how I started that. There's a lot of dietitians that are in Vancouver that also do similar internship opportunities where you could like write recipes for them, or help manage their social media. I think another huge network for me was when I was a work learn student with student services. My supervisor, Thelani, was amazing with that. Anytime that I told her that I was interested in something, she knew a list of people that she could connect me with, or that she would give me the LinkedIn and information from, and these were people that were like professors in the program, but also alumni. So student services can be a huge help in that area as well.
Well, I'm so glad to hear that a few shout outs for the student services team have come up already tonight. And I want to reiterate, the reason we are part of the LFS community is to be in service of students, right? And to support all of you in your journeys, both while you're starting out and as you're navigating through your undergraduate experience. Thank you so much for sharing some of your networking tips and some of the experiences that you have had. I know, Jules, you've shared that you had a very clear direction when you started your undergraduate journey and have pivoted into something completely different. Allison, I'm sure you get this question a lot. You did applied animal biology and now you're a lawyer. Like, how does that connect? Jeff, I feel like there's a bit more of a clearer path for you from food, nutrition, and health to medicine, but you also mentioned it before that not a lot of students see food, nutrition, and health or other degrees in LFS as pathways through to medicine. So I might come back to that in just a moment. But for Allie and Jules, one of the questions that came up in the chat was that you're in a career that seems a little bit different than your primary study of focus in LFS. So how did this happen? And maybe you could also share back a little bit of advice about your own journey to share how you kind of connected the dots to where you are today.
Sure. Yeah, it's a great question. So I applied to LFS very set on being a vet. I thought I was going to be the best vet in the world. And then I volunteered at a vet clinic and decided that that was not for me. And then what I think hopefully and I like really implore you when you're in your undergraduate degree, there are so many opportunities. And as Christine mentioned, like a lot of opportunities you can't even imagine what they are now because there's so many that you can't even know all of them quite yet. And so for me, I kind of took advantage of that and meandered my way. And a very pivotal moment for me was I guess I'm trying to figure out how the heck I got to where I am. So I guess, so in undergrad, I worked at BC Hydro, I worked at the Canadian Wildlife Federation, and I worked at the UN Environment. And so I started to pivot away from vet and got really interested in like policy, the environment, conservation. And then a pivotal moment for me was I did field school where I studied marine biology for 4 months. And field school means that you are out in the field. Like I would go out on a boat, go into the ocean and look at the seaweed in the ocean and learn about it. And it was amazing. And I loved it. I loved being outdoors. And so that led me to pursue a career in wildlife biology. And so I did that for 2 years. I was an environmental consultant for the construction of the largest carbon capture initiative in North America at the time. It was really cool. And then I saw that a lot of the environmental consulting, wildlife biology stuff I was doing, there's a lot of room for improvement. The laws weren't doing as much as I had hoped they would do. And so that's how I ended up in law school. And then in law school, the exact same thing happened again. I went in with one plan and then came out as a corporate lawyer working with startups that are trying to solve like the world's biggest problems. And now it's phenomenal. But one thing that I did in my last year of law school, which I really implore you to do, is I'd have weekly inspiration calls. I reached out to people that I thought had really cool careers and they're at the end of their career. And I'd email them out of the blue and say, hey, how did you get to where you are in your career? And I had 20 calls with all these fabulous people, from the head of IKEA to like the head of the Nature Conservancy. And all of their careers were completely all over the place and totally unpredictable. And so I really encourage you that like it's totally okay to feel a bit confused and to go in. It's also totally okay to know that like I'm going to be a doctor and that's amazing. But I encourage you to like explore yourself and explore the world because there's so much to offer. And like your career is long. You have a lot of opportunities to live many lives. And it's so exciting. And as long as you're passionate and filled with zest in life, like that's all you can ask for. So hopefully that answered your question. I'm not quite sure.
Jules, did you want to add maybe? I think it answers the question, Ellie, but Jules, do you want to add maybe a little bit about your journey and kind of how the perception of pivoting away from what you studied in your undergrad to pursue your post-secondary or your master's journey in your career?
Yeah, so I started off wanting to go in dietetics. I think my mindset going into it was I'm interested in nutrition, and this kind of seems like the only option for me. And it surprisingly wasn't until I applied to the program and got rejected that I kind of took a step back and made a decision to kind of lean more into my interest, which was sustainability, specifically food system sustainability. So I think being in that vulnerable place, I decided to reach out to a lot of different people from like career strategists embedded in the faculty to learn more about what other options there were. I started taking more classes that were less about nutrition and more about agriculture. And that kind of just being more open-minded about what other opportunities there were for me. And that led me to take that practicum course. I was working with the with the UBC Farm rather, and I was helping them with communications and social media and stuff like that. So I got to learn a little bit more about farming. And I got really good advice from that professor that I had for that course. And he said he also had a very unconventional path in his career. And I asked him about it. And he said that what got him there was just being a yes person and just saying yes to things that bring you joy. And I just took that and I was like, I'm interested in sustainability. I see that there's this grad program that's being offered here that's about sustainability and bringing in education. And that's what I'm really interested in. So I decided to say yes to that and apply. I'm very fortunate to have gotten there. And then my transition into working at a school, I know that I want to get into education at some point. And so I started looking at schools and different positions that were available, and this human resources position came up, and I said yes because the school that I'm working at right now is also starting to work on their sustainability initiatives, and even in my role, I get to help out with that, and I get to pull from my degree as well. Like I'm currently helping a grade 10 food teacher design a lesson plan to bring sustainability into her classes, and I'm helping being like a liaison with the UBC Farm to get her students out there. So just saying yes to things that come up, and that's really like what's gotten me to where I am, and also leaning into the uncertainty a little bit because I'm still not fully in that space of being a teacher or being in curriculum design, but I'm still like along that journey, but totally okay with that and knowing that things are going to shift and change over time.
Well, thank you so much for sharing that, Jules. I do hope that for those of you who upvoted that question are feeling a little bit more confident in understanding the trajectory of career journeys that you're all likely going to be experiencing. Jeff, one of the most popular questions that's come up in the chat, of course, is having a little perspective on the value of your food nutrition and health program and how it prepared you for medicine. I think there is a lot of perception out there that a biology degree in cell biology is the one and only way that you can get into medicine. I hear that from students a lot. You said that there are a handful of students in medicine from food nutrition and health. I know double-digit students over the last couple of years who are all in medical schools, whether it's at UBC, Stanford, Queens. Like we've got students who have gone on to pursue medicine and been incredibly successful. And I'm just curious from your perspective, the question came through the chat is how do you think an LFS, specifically a food nutrition and health degree, best prepared you for medicine? And maybe how is that different from some of the peers you've met along your journey? And how does it stand out for you now when you're reflecting back on it?
Yeah, it's definitely a pet peeve of mine when people think to get into medical school, you have to go to pre-med school, which, yeah, typically is in the science department in biology or something like that. And I'll say, as someone who's now graduating medical school, looking at my cohort of graduates, those individuals who have done some of the best in medical school and have gone on to match some of the most difficult residencies, including ophthalmology, dermatology, it is so random. For example, some of them have taken 5 years to get into medical school and have an arts degree. Some of them have a engine, like they became engineers and then they got into medical school later on in their life and things like that. It really doesn't translate what your undergrad is into what kind of a medical student you are necessarily. And so my biggest advice is pick an undergrad that interests you. And that's exactly what I did. So I chose LFS because I had an interest in nutrition from a personal standpoint. I was really interested in it. And I also thought, as a physician, how amazing it would be to go see your family doctor who has a really good background in nutrition. I just don't think it's something that physicians are trained in. And now graduating, I know we don't do a lot of training in nutrition. So in that way, pick something that you're interested in, because it doesn't really affect getting in. The other thing I would say, and how it set me up really well, is I'm quite confident. I don't think I would have had the same opportunities if I was in a larger program, and I attribute a lot of that to the relationships I had with my professors. And I think it's fair to say too, grades. You know, when you're in a classroom of 300 students and 250 of them are going for medical school as well as you, it gets very competitive, and so do positions. So if you want to go volunteer in a lab or get a publication through something, you do have to recognize you're going up against a lot of other students in the science faculty. In LFS, I found that there were just so many more opportunities, and people were a little bit more friendly about it, simply because I don't feel like there was that competitive nature in the LFS faculty. And so for someone who was going for medicine from the beginning, I felt very well supported, not just by the professors, but also by the academic advisors and my fellow students. And there were just so many opportunities. So I would say, if you are thinking about medicine and you're in LFS and some of your friends are in the science program and also thinking about medicine, I would say you have an upper hand, actually, and you're in the perfect place, and there's a lot of opportunity for you. So yeah, that'd be my advice.
Well, thank you so much for sharing that, Jeff. I know that echoes a lot of what I've heard from other alumni who have gone on to medical school, and kind of reflecting on the depth of opportunities that they had and the connections that they made. As well, you spoke to, one of your classes before where you were reading a paper and debating it within your class, and how well those, tackling real world issues and talking about things that are actually happening in industry, in these fields, in the classroom, and thinking critically about them and being challenged with them really help prepare them for the interviews and being ready to kind of, address and talk about these issues and demonstrate that you were aware of issues of equity, you were aware of issues of racialization in the healthcare system, in the food system. And so I know that those are some of the topics that have bled into some of the different careers. So whether, Allison is challenging companies on their sustainability goals, it's facing the inequities in the health system, it's looking at where we can really embed and empower schools to include sustainability in the curriculum. I'm curious, when you reflect back on your time as an undergrad and think about your career now, what are some of those connections that you can speak to? Kind of the real world connection that you're like, yeah. I see how now this academic thing that I was a part of is actually preparing me for this conversation or these skills that I'm having to tackle in my career. Allie, I see a big enthusiastic nod from you, so maybe I'll come to you first.
I'm just a nodder. I nod, and it's
Don't play poker, Allie. You don't have a good poker face.
I'm not a good poker face. I mean, it's so hard to pick just one. I think, yeah, I mean, in my first year, I was in all these giant science classes, which were great, but one of my smaller classes was an LFS writing class. And it was the exact same thing Jeff was talking about. We were analyzing these papers, and I remember feeling very frustrated in first year because it was really hard, because the professors were teaching us to truly grapple with these concepts and develop our own understandings and thinkings and ideas around them. And because LFS is a smaller faculty and the faculty members are just so great, there's so much. I felt really supported in that journey of learning to think a certain way. And now being a lawyer, to me, being a lawyer is you digest a lot of information and you distill it and you then present it. And it's all about like managing risk and taking really complex things and trying to understand them. And those fundamental skills were built in my first year in that course. It's truly phenomenal. And I also just want to, not related to the question, but what Jeff said about like the faculty not being competitive, it is, in my experience, so true. The students are so kind, so supportive. Everyone is elevating everyone. There's no cutthroat anything. The folks at LFS are just so kind, and it's such a wonderful environment to learn and grow and develop and think in.
Jules or Jeff, do you have anything to add to that? Thanks so much, Allie. It's okay if you don't. You don't all have to answer every single question either. That's fine. Maybe we can pop over to a different question, because we do have a few more in the Slido here. So I'll give you, the three of you, a little bit of a break, because one of these questions is probably not geared towards you, although Jules, you did mention you were pursuing and chose not to become a dietitian. The question in Slido, is it hard to find jobs as a dietitian? And the answer is no. UBC does have the only program in the province of British Columbia to graduate registered dietitians. It's a very in-demand career, which is why the program itself is so competitive. We admit 37 students into the dietetics program every year. And so trying to fill as many of those vacant dietetics spaces as possible. Becoming a registered dietitian can open doors in a lot of different ways, whether you're going to be working in a hospital, in a clinical setting, or go out as an entrepreneur and have your own personal business. We have a lot of really phenomenal profiles of some dietetics graduates on our website. So I'll be sure to, myself or Ashley can link to that in the Zoom chat, so that you can go and read some bios of some dietitians who've gone on. I know one of you in the earlier Slido question said you want to write a cookbook. We have not one, but two alumni that we know of who have written cookbooks and have really successful YouTube channels and Instagrams and TikToks, and are really high profile dietitians working and providing that kind of guidance and support to others. So hopefully that helps answer your question there. The other question that came up through Slido is curious to know what year it is you started to talk to your professors. When did you start to feel comfortable to get out there and have those conversations? Day one, year one, right?
I mean, dropping by to like have coffee and just truly just chat was definitely fourth year. But first year, in that English class that I was talking about, the LFS English class was with Dan Leary. If you get to meet him, he's truly the best. But it was truly only in LFS. The bigger classes were it took me a while to feel comfortable in those. But I wish, looking back, that I had felt comfortable to go knock on some doors, because now I know that everyone's just wonderful and kind and welcoming.
Jules, how about you? When was the first time you reached out to a prof or felt comfortable doing that?
I wish I had done it sooner. I think it took me 5 years to do my degree. I think it was probably my fourth and fifth year that I was really like going up to profs after classes, or like sitting down with them, or maybe like scheduling meetings with them to chat. So it took a while to build up my courage, but I wish I had done it sooner, because again, like Allie said, everybody's super lovely. Everybody's always willing to help. And if they can't help you, they'll always redirect you to somebody else who can.
Amazing. And Jeff, how about you?
Yeah, I mean, I was a pretty social person. And so, yeah, I would say from the get-go, I remember when I started school, I was a transfer student, so this was initially at college, but my first and second year, I was the kid that would always kind of sit up at the front. I certainly didn't know anything, and that's probably why I needed to sit up front, but I had a really good relationship with my professors, and that's like my biggest piece of advice for anyone who's starting university or college or anything, is sit at the front and just be known. If your professor knows who you are, they know your face, I can't even describe the advantage that you'll have. Office hours are free, and you'd be surprised how empty they are. So if you're showing up for all of them, I think it plays a role when your professor's like, hey, you know what? This is the guy that's come to every single office hour. He's asked me a lot of questions. There's a lot of advantages to be had. And I'd say that was probably the biggest thing that I did in my undergrad that I look back on and I think I was proud of is the effort that I made to sit in the front, go to office hours. Like Ali said, you know, you start going for coffee with these people and that's like your network in the end. So yeah.
That's amazing. I'm curious, Ashley, I'm going to put you on the spot. I know you haven't graduated yet, but when you think about the advice that's given by the 3 alumni that we have here today, so far in your undergraduate journey, since you're a little bit closer to where these students are right now, what are some of the things that you've engaged in that you feel have helped prepare you for your career journey, whether it's your current co-op position or other opportunities that you've taken advantage of that you think the students need to be aware of?
I definitely think being involved with a lot of the student leadership opportunities that the faculty has to offer is a great way for you to, like, for those of you who are nervous about talking to professors, this is kind of an easier way to approach a professor because throughout my years in LFS, I've been the senior orientation leader. I've been the academic career and ACE team lead, which stands for academic career and
It's a super long
engagement
title.
team. It's a super long title. And through that, there's like opportunities for you to like approach your professor and ask them to like be involved in an event or ask them to help out. So even if you're not reaching out to them about like a specific question or like asking to network, you're still like having that interaction and like building up that confidence and building up the rapport to meet potentially ask them about a career advice in the future or like ask them for a research opportunity in the future. So definitely being involved in student leadership opportunities. It's always advertised on the LFS newsletters, and you can also go to the student service office and ask Thelini, who is the student engagement officer, about how you can get more involved. And she also has great advice as well. So if you are just like don't know where to start, and how you can further build up your resume or further like get opportunities on campus, she has been a helpful resource, and I know that Jules has had the chance to work really close with her in last year, so she knows firsthand of how great Thelini has been with like helping students be more involved and get those experiences. Yeah.
Thank you for
I
sharing.
hope that answers the question.
I think it answers it really, really well. I noticed that we're reaching a little bit close to the end of time. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to ask the panelists one final question. Then I'm going to flip back to the presentation and close the presentation out. And then once that's done, we will be able to stay online if people do have some additional questions that they'd like to ask for the panelists. But in closing, I'm curious for Allison and Jeff and Jules. I'm just really curious, when you look back at your university years overall, what is it that you wish you had done more of or started doing earlier that's not talking to your profs? Because I feel like we've covered that, but kind of those last little bits of advice for these new students who are about to embark on their undergraduate journey. When you reflect back on your years, what do you wish you had done more of or started doing earlier? And it doesn't even have to be career related. It can just be from your LFS or UBC experience. Oh no, you did everything you wanted to do? Your bucket list was complete? Checked everything off?
I'm sure there are many things that I could list that I wish that I had started earlier. I think one of the big things was visiting LFS student services. I think I only maybe my first couple of years went like once or twice and just didn't realize how much like advice or all the resources that were available there until I started working there. I think another thing that I wish I had done earlier is just experimenting and exploring. I think university is the perfect time for that because there are so many opportunities. And the nice thing is that if you join a club for one semester or you do something for one semester and you decide that maybe this isn't something that you're super passionate about, there's so many other opportunities that you can switch into. And I think knowing what you do enjoy doing and what you don't enjoy doing are just as valuable. So definitely just exploring in different clubs and stuff like that earlier on would be something that I would have wanted to start earlier.
How about you?
Yeah, I'm thinking that maybe, okay, I think something I wish I had done a little bit more was just get involved in the campus spirit a little bit more. Again, I was a transfer student, so I came in halfway, and I think that was a bit disadvantageous in the sense that I hadn't been there for the 4 years. I didn't really make, first and second year friends because I was out of college before. But one thing I wish I did get involved more with is just, some of the activities around campus, going to the different sporting events. I think it was until like almost the very end of my last year, I started attending some of the hockey, the volleyball, the football, and it would have been fun to have picked up some of the swag and gone to all the events and kind of followed it throughout the 4 years. So I think just getting into that campus spirit and participating, kind of like Jules mentioned too, the clubs. I wasn't a big club guy. I was married and kind of had things going on outside, so I never immersed myself like that. And I think in hindsight, it would have been fun to have participated a little bit more in the campus community aspect.
Yeah, I was on the other end of that where I was like on every club ever. And it was awesome. And I think what I wish I had known is that time flies. And if you want to get something done, especially if you're in a club and it's so exciting to be surrounded by like-minded people who care about a shared passion, whether it's you know, food, nutrition, and health, or the environment, or building a car, or I don't know, cooking, or anything that you could ever dream of or imagine of being involved in, there's a club for you. And I think that be curious and seek out those clubs. And then once you're in those clubs, know that time flies. It goes really quickly. And so there's a lot of stuff that I really wanted to do in all the clubs I was involved in, and then we just ran out of time. And so I think that looking back, I wish I was maybe a bit more like I think that one of the biggest pieces of advice I can give is like the first 4 weeks of classes are like really important for setting yourself up for success. Because if you get behind right off the bat, it's hard to play catch up. And it's the same with like anything you're involved in. Start early, be consistent, and it will be amazing. You'll get to do so many cool things and be involved in so many fun. I wish I could go back. It's so exciting for all of you. I can't wait.
That's really wonderful advice to share back with everybody. Thank you so much. There were a couple additional questions in the Slido chat, but they were hyper specific to careers. And so I'm just going to encourage, if you submitted a question through Slido that we weren't able to answer, I really encourage you to follow up with our office. I'll ask Ashley to put the LFS Student Services email address into the chat for you. It's also going to come up on a screen that you'll be able to screen grab in just a moment. I want to just highlight before we thank our presenters and cap the evening here tonight, just some important dates for you new students to be mindful of in the weeks and months ahead. So we've got our LFS welcome events that are happening this week. This is the last one of the week, so you've attended. Thumbs up, way to go. There is an upcoming information session on the cohort program for first year students called Land 1. It happens on May the 6th. If you're interested in a cohort curated collaborative experience with their colleagues in forestry, really encourage you to attend that session since there's a separate application due May 15th for that. If you haven't already done so, you must accept your offer of admission to UBC by the date that's posted in your applicant profile. We certainly hope that some of you have already accepted and that tonight inspires some of you to say yes and feel that LFS is a great place to support you on your journey. We will be presenting you with an opportunity to, or we automatically enrolling you in LFS Roots, which is a Canvas course that we've created in student services for all new students to help support you. I know that Ashley mentioned it a little bit in the chat when talking with one of you, to prepare you for registration, to provide social connections for you, and get you ready for all the exciting and challenging things to come. Don't panic. We've got you in Student Services, and around mid-May, you'll get an email from our office letting you know that you've been enrolled in Roots, and you can check out the modules that will be released consistently throughout the summer to help prepare you for all the different stages of readiness, as well as modules throughout your first year. Registration for you isn't until the end of June, so you have lots of time to think about what you want to do, access the modules in Roots, learn about how to register, what courses you need to register in, and then the team of Student Services academic advisors will be hosting registration webinars, so you can come and hear from academic advisors and know how to plan your courses, and then get ready for those great orientation programming activities that are coming up at the end of August and early September, where we get to officially welcome you into the LFS and UBC communities on campus. If you'd like to stay in touch, we really encourage you to do so. Our team of academic advisors are happy to answer any questions that you might have. Our email address is posted here. If you're on social media, you can follow us at UBC LFS. That's the Instagram channel for the faculty's Instagram. You can visit our website. And then I did put into the chat the link for all of the alumni profiles that I was referencing earlier if you want to go and learn a little bit more about some of the different pathways alumni have taken out of LFS. And with all of that, I'd like to say a huge thank you to Ashley for coordinating this whole week of activities and co-hosting with me this evening. And then an extra special thank you to Jeff, Allie, and Jules. Thank you so much for taking time out of your busy personal schedules to give back this time as alumni to share your experiences with these newly admitted students. I know I learned a lot from you listening to your stories, and I hope that those of you on the call today have been inspired and feel more informed and confident about taking this next incredible step in your academic and career journey as you join us in LFS this September. Have a wonderful night. Thank you so much for being here, and we can't wait to see you all on campus in a few short months.